From the High Definition Production Center of Troy University's Broadcast and Digital Network and Troy campuses around the world, this is TrojanVision Weekly.
Hello and welcome to TrojanVision Weekly. We're glad you joined us for this look at what's happening in and around Troy University. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. Well, Troy University officially kicked off the school's newest construction project, breaking ground at what will become a nearly 78,000 square foot student recreation and wellness center. Paige Weeks has the story.
This dream now has become and will become a reality.
Friday morning marked the start of a project that many past and present Troy University leaders have been preparing for years. Troy officials held a groundbreaking ceremony to mark the official start of construction for the university's new Student Recreation Center. The Rec Center was spearheaded by past and present student government associations.
Students far before me have worked really hard to advocate for this new center, and we're finally seeing some of that come to life.
With the completion of the new facility, the SGA says it hopes that it will not only excite current Troy students, but also potential students looking for schools.
When students come on their tours here and they see this rec center, they're going to fall in love with it, just like we've fallen in love with even the idea of it. So we're so excited, and we think it will really add in our enrollment.
The facility will be jam-packed with amenities that students can enjoy. Inside will be a swimming pool, a track, weight and cardio rooms, a yoga deck, and even a smoothie bar.
It's going to be full of all kinds of amenities that students are really going to enjoy.
Even now, students are excited to see the new facility and begin taking advantage of everything it has to offer.
I think it's going to make it a better school. Like, people are going to be more interested in coming to Troy if they see that we have an awesome rec center. Like, people are going to be like, wow, that's a great thing to have at a school, and that's going to interest them to want to come and apply to be a student here.
Now that the groundbreaking ceremony is over, construction can officially begin here on Troy's campus. Students can expect to see their newly renovated rec center in the fall of 2019. Paige Weeks, Troy, TrojanVision News.
As we saw, construction has begun, and while it will be over a year before students can enjoy it, they're still getting excited about what it will bring to campus. Anna Kate Patterson has reaction.
The anticipation for Troy University's new Student Recreational Center continues to build after the official groundbreaking on Friday. Currently, Troy has 2 small weight rooms and 3 basketball gyms open to students, all at different locations. Junior Micah Yance says one location with it all will be a big plus.
We have places, but it's all in different places, so if I want to get a workout in, I have to come here and then go somewhere else to do whatever else I want to do.
Yance also says he hopes the new student center will have a more inviting weight room for students to start moving.
We have this place here, but it's kind of small, so a new place will give people a chance to go and be active.
Freshman majorette Alexis Kirkpatrick says she's looking forward to the availability and proximity of the gyms in the facility.
This gym has classes in it and stuff, so sometimes it is hard to get in here and practice without bothering classes or going all the way up to Elm Street.
Students agree that the student center's location at the front of the campus will definitely send a positive message.
Being out in front where it is, people are going to have a grasping look to it. It's going to be really nice, so people gravitate towards it.
We are advancing our university, and we are doing what we can to serve our students.
After the holiday break and being delayed due to snow last week, the Student Government Association is back in session, and Tuesday night, the group met in the Hall of Honor to set goals and plan events for the new semester. Brady Talbert has the story.
The Student Government Association is back this semester, and while this meeting was relatively casual, the ideas could still be considered sharp. Tuesday night, SGA members reflected on last semester and set goals for spring of 2018.
We want students to recognize the faces of senators, to see them when they're walking around classes or walking around campus, or if they have classes with them, to be able to ask them questions, to be able to express concerns, and to really be able to build a relationship with their representatives.
The student government is also planning events that advocate and center around diversity and inclusion.
So this is something a little bit new, and really what we're going to do this week is really promote positive thinking. We want to have events on campus that are not super big events, but events where students can come and go, push people to think about things that they may not normally think about, to consider different perspectives, and to really, just push people to grow as an individual.
The SGA is also preparing to welcome some fresh faces with some new ideas as the Senate vacancy election approaches.
The senators that we have currently have been serving for the whole school year, and these new senators are going to bring new ideas, new perspectives that we can address to the administration.
Senate elections will be held January 31st. The link to vote will be sent to students through their Troy email. Voting is a duty Holt believes students should consider.
I encourage all students to vote. These are the representatives of the campus that are going to represent you, and they are going to do things for you to make this campus better.
SGA's Diversity and Inclusion Week will kick off on February 5th out on the main quad. Brady Talbert, Troy, TrojanVision News.
On Monday night, Troy University's Freshman Forum held their annual tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King. Nathaniel Rodriguez has the story.
Number one,
hope. That was the message Speaker Reggie Dabbs gave at this year's Freshman Forum tribute to the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Monday night in the Trojan Center ballrooms. Using music and stories from his own life as well as King's, Dabbs told students they could change the world.
I took the words from Dr. King. He had a famous speech about a street sweeper. He said if you're a street sweeper, you need to sweep streets like Michelangelo did his job, like Beethoven composed, but you got to be the greatest street sweeper that has ever lived.
Dabbs also stressed the importance of empathy and helping others while working toward success.
You want to be a billionaire? Well, you can give a $10 lunch to a homeless person. You want to be the most beautiful woman in the world? Then you can do makeup for a little sixth grader and help them know how they can be beautiful too.
Two Freshman Forum delegates said the speech reflected well on King's legacy of kindness, inspiring them to pass on what they learned.
I think that's something that we hit on tonight with our speaker was just being loving and being compassionate and having that for each individual, especially while we're here at Troy, making a difference in each life.
There should be no boundaries for treating people with respect and kindness and compassion. No racial boundary, no ethnicity should ever stop you from treating people the way that they deserve to be treated.
Why is he funny?
And after Monday night's event, Dabbs says he hopes to make a return trip to Troy sometime in the future. Nathaniel Rodriguez, Troy, TrojanVision News.
Troy University students often find themselves spending their time between classes in the Trojan Center. And one of the areas where the students tend to congregate has new options for them to sit back, relax, and even study a little. Paige Weeks gives us a look.
As students settle into their new schedules, they will soon begin searching for study spots. And now they have one more place to go. Over the past few days, Troy University's Student Government Association took some time to refurbish the Trojan Center's upstairs lounge area.
If they want to be a little bit louder than they'd want to be in the library, or maybe there's a lot of seats taken in the library, or they want to eat downstairs, that they just say, I want to go upstairs.
The lounge now features new chairs, couches, high top tables, and even a place for students to game.
We just wanted to make people's experiences at school the best they can be by just tweaking here and there what we can do, and just making more students want to come to Troy.
Students have already started to utilize the new area, and many plan to use it often.
There's definitely a lot more places to sit. It gives us a chance to expand our group a little bit so that we aren't forced into a corner, or, people sitting on the floor, lying on the floor, that sort of thing.
New furniture isn't the only project that the SGA has spearheaded. They were also the brains behind the building of Troy University's new Recreation and Fitness Center.
We have a lot to offer, and we have so many resources that we just want to fix and help utilize, and we're constantly just looking for ways that we can make things that we already have better.
Other improvements for the lounge are being talked about, such as painting the walls, getting more furniture, and even adding a mural. Paige Weeks, Troy, TrojanVision News.
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, we'll see how and why Troy students got a lesson in stalking. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Observe a domesticated human family in their natural habitat, known to their species as the backyard.
Hey, you think I should light it now?
I think it's good.
Yeah?
Oh dear, someone is about to burn a pile of debris that's too tall, which can start a wildfire. Wait, could it be? Blimey, it is.
It's Smokey.
It's Smokey Bear. What a legend.
Hey, it's Smokey. Sorry, it was too high. Right.
Watch as he astutely ensures that there's no wind, and how he removes some of the debris to create a smaller, safer burning pile.
No, you said make it bigger, baby. The bigger, the better.
Take note of our fearless furry friend here, humans.
I appreciate it. Fist bump.
Watching you.
Smokey's done it again.
Bye, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Now back to Troy Trojan Vision News Weekly.
A former ambassador to the Soviet Union was on campus this week, sharing his experiences while serving as Troy's ambassador in residence. Dr. Jack Matlock started his visit by speaking to the Alabama World Affairs Council on Troy's Montgomery campus. Madison Neal has the story from our Montgomery News Bureau.
The relationship between the United States and Russia was the topic of discussion at the Alabama World Affairs Council on Tuesday night, and guests had the opportunity to hear from a former ambassador to the USSR, Dr. Jack Matlock.
Obviously, relations now with Russia are bad, and that's unfortunate. In fact, I think it's unacceptable because Russia is the other major nuclear power. The two of us hold over 90% of the nuclear weapons in the world.
And Matlock said this mutual advantage between the United States and Russia is critical to ensuring international stability.
Our enemies are the same terrorists are going after both of us. We as the major nuclear powers are the mainly guarantors that these won't be used, because it could not only destroy us, but everybody else.
Ambassador Matlock traveled here to Troy University's Montgomery campus to discuss the relationship between the United States and Russia, both past and present. And one student in attendance explains why it's important to maintain our international relationships.
I mean, if right now you look at the world, it's in a dangerous place, and right now we can be worried about like a war or not, or like, you know, you have to be ready for whatever is coming. So I feel like it's very important for everyone to actually know what is going on in the world.
Matlock's visit with the World Affairs Council was part of his visit to Alabama, serving as Troy University's ambassador in residence. In Montgomery, Madison Neal, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
When many of the folks around here want to put their toes in the sand and have a little fun in the sun, they head south to the Gulf Coast. However, the area lovingly referred to as the Redneck Riviera has an interesting history, and Troy students had the chance to hear about it Tuesday night. Stuart Bradley has the story.
You wanted a vacation, but got a history lecture instead. Last night, author Harvey Jackson was invited to give a history lesson on one of Alabama's most popular vacation spots. Jackson is a former Jacksonville State history professor as well as an established author. He's written books on the environment and the American Revolution. His last book, which was also the subject of last night's storytelling, was The Rise and Decline of the Redneck Riviera, to which he has a personal connection to the location.
I've been coming down here since I was 9 or 10 years old. I virtually felt like I grew up on the coast.
The book chronicles the history of the Emerald Coast, aka the Redneck Riviera, that went from a vacation spot to a place full of spring breakers and investment gurus.
I guess you could say in a way I started working on it before I even started working on it, when I was, just growing up here. But the actual hardcore research probably took about 2 or 3 years. The writing itself another year to a year and a half.
Jackson's talk last night was a history and a bit of a reflection on the Riviera, focusing on its evolution as a vacation spot.
It was where people from the lower south went to vacation when they got vacations. It grew up as more and more people wanted to come down here. People began seeing it as an opportunity to make some money. People also saw it as an opportunity to have some fun, and that's where it is today.
Jackson has presented at a few other schools already, and when he came to Troy, he brought his knowledge of the Riviera, his sense of humor, and in the end seemed to impress the audience, who would leave with good knowledge of where most of them would be spending spring break. Stuart Bradley, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
Being stalked can be a frightening experience, and it happens to more young people than you might think. That's why Trojan Outreach took some time out to help former students about stalking. Chelsea Law has the story.
Have you ever been stalked before?
Yes. It was here, actually.
January is National Stalking Awareness Month, and on Wednesday afternoon, Trojan Outreach set up on the quad to teach students on how to possibly prevent a stalking situation.
Well, stalking is basically any unwanted attention that it's sort of like harassment where it keeps happening. It's like if people are following you home, they're showing up at your classes, stuff like that.
Though stalking may seem like a far-fetched idea, it actually happens. Some Troy students shared their experience with being stalked.
One day I was coming home from school, and I had been receiving some hate mail, over the past 2 weeks before the incident happened, and I was actually followed home from school.
I was walking into New Reds. I was going to see this shorty, and while we was talking, the stalker was actually her friend, and she was like, I guess she wanted to talk to me or whatever. So somehow she got my number.
What happened was she started following me around campus. She filmed me on Snapchat, knowing I don't have a Snapchat, saying pretty, harsh things about me.
Being stalked is not 100% preventable, but some techniques such as walking with a group of friends and keeping your doors locked can kill. And if you're ever in a situation where you feel unsafe, then locate one of these towers around campus to help you.
On campus, there are these little poles with blue lights on the top, and you press the button, and it'll notify the Troy police, and they'll come escort you or whatever you need.
If you or a loved one feel as if you are being stalked, then tell someone or call campus police at 334-670-3215. Chelsea Law, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
We're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, we'll see what recent economic development announcements will mean for the city of Troy. So don't touch that dial.
There's a Trojan warrior spirit that distinguishes Troy from the rest of American higher education. From the day a student enrolls at Troy, they become part of the Trojan family. It's very much the philosophy of the institution that we know our students by name and not by number. We help our students find where their strengths lie and offer them academic programs that are superb and will prepare them for successful careers.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Now back to Troy Trojan Vision News Weekly.
The city of Troy is seeing an economic boom. 2017 started with the opening of a brand new shopping center anchored by Publix and ended with the announcement of a distillery coming to town. 2018 has already seen yet another big economic development announcement. And as Anna Kate Patterson shows us, the city feels these announcements could just be the tip of the iceberg.
I think you can see as you ride around all the construction that's going on.
To many, it may seem the city of Troy is in a constant state of transformation. In the past 6 months, a pair of big announcements have the potential for major economic growth. The Kimber Factory and the Conecuh Ridge Distillery will both mean new jobs. However, Reeves says the distillery will add a little extra.
And also bring in a tourist aspect, not unlike the Bourbon Trail or Napa Valley.
But large projects are not all that's in the works for the city.
Residential housing, whether it's apartments near campus, whether it's restaurants on 231, a lot going on here.
And although Reeves couldn't give any hints on projects that have yet to be announced, he does say there's a lot to look forward to.
We're working with people every day. We're working with industrial, residential, light commercial, all types of different things. And I mean, that's the biggest part of what we do.
Reeves also says he believes Kimber and Conecuh Ridge will lay the groundwork for future projects. Anna Kate Patterson, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
The new year has brought a pair of new exhibits to Troy's Johnson Center for the Arts. Nathaniel Rodriguez gives us a look at the exhibit that features some interesting artwork.
A new exhibit has opened in the lower galleries of the Johnson Center for the Arts, featuring the work of the late Lois Wilson. Born in Fayette, Alabama, Wilson was an artist who blended folk painting with architectural principles she picked up as a student at Auburn University.
What you will notice as you go through it, there is the feel of an architect behind it, because some of her work, there's actually pencil drawings before she actually painted.
Starting off with watercolor and oil painting, Wilson's style eventually evolved into producing works like this, which are paintings on repurposed slabs of wood, some taken from dresser drawers. According to Hopper, Wilson's artwork deals with a variety of subjects pertaining to the American lifestyle, including this one titled Ella American.
She really was interested in showing people and people in regular daily activities. And so this particular piece, I think, does show that. It shows it at a food counter, all kinds of people enjoying that.
Hopper said the center found out about Wilson's work from Troy University Senior Vice Chancellor Walter Gavan, and afterwards made contact with the Fayette Art Museum, where Wilson's artwork was sent after her death in 1980.
That occurred about a year ago, and then working with the director over there, getting permission to bring the pieces over here and display them.
The Wilson exhibit will remain open until February 25th. Nathaniel Rodriguez, Troy, TrojanVision News.
Being responsible for keeping to a budget can be difficult for young people, but the need to become better at budgeting becomes more apparent as college students start to enter the real world. To help guide Troy students on the path to better budgeting, Troy's Office of Civic Engagement partnered with Troy Bank and Trust to give some pointers. Seth Hawk shows us how.
Thursday afternoon, Troy University's Office of Civic Engagement hosted its third installment of Adulting 101 that focused on the life skill of budgeting.
Adulting just means adult skills, mature skills that you're going to need when you graduate from college, when you leave Troy University. So I like to say no one likes to fix a toilet, but we all have to do it once in our life. So budgeting, not as bad as fixing a toilet, but everyone needs to do it. And especially when you're a college student, it doesn't feel like money's real, but when you get into the real world, money becomes a very crucial thing of your life.
Livingston invited the Senior Vice President of Troy Bank and Trust, Diane Aman, to come speak at the session. And according to Aman, budgeting your income is very essential to life.
You want to have enough money to do what you have planned for your life, and if you don't budget, you run out of money, can't pay your bills, and your goals don't get met.
During this session of Adulting 101, students were given multiple tips on budgeting, which, looking at my current billfold, I could probably use some of those. And according to Aman, getting started budgeting is really simple.
Get out a scratch piece of paper and write down every expense, write down their income, subtract the difference and see where they stand, and then start maneuvering those expenses so that they fall within the income.
Aman also says that budgeting requires self-discipline, so be strong and be smart with your money by creating a budget that fits you. Seth Hawk, Troy, TrojanVision News.
It's time for our last break. When we return, we'll hear more from Troy's Ambassador in Residence, Jack Matlock. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Now back to Troy TrojanVision News Weekly.
As we mentioned earlier, Dr. Jack Matlock is currently serving as Ambassador in Residence for Troy University. Dr. Matlock is the guest on this week's Trojan Talk. Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. My guest today is Dr. Jack Matlock, Ambassador in Residence here at Troy University. Thank you for joining me here today.
Delighted to be here.
And you are the Ambassador in Residence here at Troy University, an opportunity to share your experience with the students here at Troy University. So tell me, how does it make you feel to be able to share your years as an ambassador and experience with these students?
Oh, I love to do this. And it's really great to keep in touch with the the generation of students now. You know, they know so much more than I did when I was a student. It really impresses me.
And your years of experience heavily with the Soviet Union as an ambassador there, and have a lot of experience with Russia, and you get a chance to talk to folks nowadays about Russia, and do you get a lot of folks asking questions about how things with Russia compares to back in the Cold War era?
Yes, people are, you know, they hear a lot about it, and I get a lot of questions. And because, you know, I think our relations with Russia are extremely important. It's not that the U.S. and Russia decides everything in the world. We don't. But the fact is that we're both nuclear powers. That gives us a great responsibility. But also the broader problems in the world that we face, whether it's a nuclear power, whether it's terrorism, whether it's global warming, we're not going to be able to solve them without cooperation from countries like Russia and China and India.
And so when you speak to the students here at Troy University, what are some of the lessons you hope that they can take away from your experience?
Basically, I tried to explain how many people, including many of our educators, misinterpret the Cold War. I think we make a mistake when we say we won the Cold War, because actually we negotiated an end to their benefit as well as ours. Also, people think that the Soviet Union collapsed because of the Cold War. No, it collapsed not because we forced their collapse. It collapsed for internal pressure after the Cold War had ended, and it was something that the United States didn't even want to happen. So the idea that we were victorious and that we brought an end to the Soviet Union and an end to the Cold War by military pressure, it gets it backwards and gives us the impression that, oh, we can use our strength, our military power to change other countries if we don't like what they're doing. And we get into a lot of trouble when we try that.
And from a perspective, a foreign relations perspective and your experience, how important is it to be able to teach students about the necessity of foreign relations and having ambassadors such as yourself and other individuals working these channels and working between the governments?
Well, obviously, we're better off in a peaceful world than one that threatens our lives. And we live in a world which is not going to be peaceful unless the most powerful countries conduct diplomacy among them. Therefore, our diplomacy is vital for the well-being of our country. It has been in the past, it continues to be. So I think no matter what the students are interested in, and most will probably be more interested in domestic issues, but we need a cadre of people experienced in dealing with others. Business and other things are increasingly worldwide. And by the way, I think what this university is doing overseas in many countries, including China, is very encouraging. I think that's exactly the direction we need to go. And I think we have to make sure that our students get the experience of dealing with people in other cultures.
And of course, you know, especially a student there, maybe majoring in political science or something along those lines, thinking about diplomacy as a career. You know, what would it take for somebody to try to maybe focus their goals towards getting into foreign relations and diplomacy?
Well, you know, there are several types of jobs. We have a foreign service, professional diplomacy. One gets in there by examination. First a written examination and then a very competitive sort of oral one. I would say that those students who are interested in the Foreign Service start taking the Foreign Service examination. Doesn't matter if you fail at first. I had colleagues had successful careers that tried 3 times before they got in. The main thing is you can start learning. Now basically that exam, it expects you to know a lot about the United States. And also it helps to have an interest in the knowledge, at least of the geography of the rest of the world, and at least one more language. Though even that is not an absolute requirement, because once you're in the Foreign Service, you will get training in those languages that you need. But obviously, to get a head start on those is very important.
Of course. Well, here's hoping that students here will be able to glean some knowledge from you, and maybe those that have goals towards that direction will be able to do that. Now, I want to thank you for joining me here today on Trojan Talk.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
All right, thank you. And thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk. And that's what happened on the 4th week of January 2018. To find out what's happening throughout the week, you can tune in to Troy TrojanVision News at 5, 6:30, and 10:30 Monday through Friday. Join us again next week for another edition of TrojanVision Weekly.